Okay, so today's presentation or this webinar is going to focus on solar billing plan. We recently did a separate webinar dedicated to NEM1 and NEM2 customers. So if you're looking for info on NEM, you can find the recording of that on our website. I'm going to kind of quickly go over some of the key things about solar billing plan bills that you'll want to pay attention to. And if you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A function of this webinar, and then I'll answer those at the very end. So I think we can go ahead and get started. All right, so let's just start out with a very general explanation of how solar works. Solar panels work by generating energy when the sun is shining. That energy is either immediately used or stored in a battery or exported to the grid. Any extra energy that you use that is not covered by your solar system is going to be pulled from the grid. This is typically at night or on a cloudy or overcast day, or when your system just isn't producing enough to cover your energy needs. If you have a battery, the energy is pulled from there first before it's imported from the grid. So that's a good benefit of having a battery. Any excess energy produced by the system is exported to the grid, and you're credited for that. Those credits are applied towards any charges that you have from the energy that you did pull from the grid. Okay, so now that we kind of have the basic understanding of how solar works, we can do kind of a quick overview of solar billing plan, or SBP. So in December of 2022, the CPUC unanimously voted to approve the latest version of net energy metering, which at the time was being referred to as NEM 3.0. This decision meant that any interconnection application submitted after April 15th would no longer be eligible for NEM 2.0, but would instead be part of this new program with a very different billing structure. Some of the main billing differences to note are that how the credits work. So unlike NEM, customers are no longer credited at the retail rate for energy they export to the grid. Instead, the credit that they earn is based off of something called the avoided cost calculator. And this avoided cost calculator determines what the energy export to the grid is worth at the time that it's exported. And that means that energy credits vary from by time of day, day of the week, and the month that they're exported. Another difference is that billing is done monthly rather than annually. So there's no change here on the Pioneer side of the bill, since we've always done monthly billing, but it is a change for PG&E. Specifically, the delivery portion of the bill is going to also be reconciled monthly rather than annually. It's also important to note that at this time, all SBP customers will be placed on the e-elect rate schedule, which is a time of use rate. You can find more information about that rate on PG&E's website. Lastly, some customers may be eligible for bonus export credits. People who submitted their interconnection application in 2023 will be eligible for the highest bonus amount. And that amount is going to decrease by 20% for newly enrolled customers every year until 2027. And those bonus credits are locked in for 9 years from the date of your PTO, or permission to operate. Something to kind of keep in mind is that not all customers are going to be eligible for this bonus credit. And some of those people would be any customer transitioning from NEM 1 or 2, anyone purchasing a home with solar, and then like new construction pretty much. So if you are the applicant for a new solar system, most likely you'll be eligible for these bonus credits. Otherwise, you most likely won't. All right, I got that stuff out of the way. So let's start going through the bill. Let's break an SBP bill down page by page so you can understand what it means. The first page of your bill gives you a quick summary of the current charges for that month. So it's just going to basically show PG&E's electric monthly charges, which are their fees for transmission and distribution, also known as delivery. The Pioneer electric generation charges are for the energy you use when your system didn't produce enough to meet your electric needs. And then the amount due is a combination of these two plus gas if that's a service you receive from PG&E. The first page also shows programs you might be enrolled in. Here we can obviously see that solar billing plan is there. But if you're enrolled in something like CARE or FARA or medical baseline, those would show up here as well. All right, so moving on, the page with the most important information is probably going to be page 3 of your bill. This is where you'll find a breakdown of how much energy you sent back to the grid, how much energy you used from the grid, and what PG&E is charging for the delivery of that energy. This is a lot of info, so we're going to break it down into a few slides. And the first section that you're going to want to pay attention to, this is often overlooked. It's off to the right side of the page, and you'll see an area labeled service information. And this contains crucial info about how much energy you used from the grid and how much you sent back. The line highlighted in red, titled Imports, shows how much energy you used from the grid when your solar system wasn't producing, or when your battery, if you have one, ran out of stored energy. This is essentially the energy you purchased from the utility company. The section on the left of this breaks down even further, showing what period you use that energy in. For example, this customer used the majority of their energy during the off-peak period, with very little being used during the peak and part peak period. And then the line for exports, which is highlighted in blue, shows how much excess energy you sent back to the grid. And then that's what you receive credit for. So this energy that is being produced by your solar system and not immediately being used or stored in your battery is exported to the grid. And the amount that you're credited depends on the time of day, the day of the week, and the month that it's exported. So over on the left-hand side of this page, you can see that the energy export credit rate is just listed at prices vary. So each of those kilowatts that you send back is going to have a different value. Also on the section on the left. So the section labeled energy delivered is where you can see the breakdown of PG&E's delivery charges. It's broken down into peak, part peak, and off peak, and it shows how much energy was delivered to you in each of those periods. PG&E charges by the kilowatt to deliver energy. So for every unit of energy that you use, you pay for it to be delivered. And at the very bottom of the energy delivered section, you're going to see a line item called energy export credits applied. So these are the credits that you've earned in the current billing cycle for all the energy you exported to the grid. As mentioned before, the credit you receive for each kilowatt hour is going to vary by the time, the day, and the month. And then in the other charges, credits, and taxes section, right below that, you may also see a line item for energy export bonus credits. So we touched on this in the beginning, but not all SBP customers qualify for this credit. If you do, the credits are locked in for 9 years. And then these bonus credits are also calculated based on the amount of energy you exported, and they're applied the same way that the other export credits are. I left the top section for last because it may be a little confusing, or at least I think it's a little confusing. This section is labeled energy produced. It's not going to be the amount of energy you produce with your solar system, but rather how much you imported from the grid. In other words, it's how much energy you used when your solar system was not producing. So really the only place on the bill to see how much energy you produced and sent to the grid will be in that export line on the service information section. So you'll notice that the numbers in the peak, part peak, and off peak rows here match the delivery section below. And like I said, that's because PG&E charges for each kilowatt hour they deliver. So as a Pioneer customer, you'll also see a generation credit here. And that's because you're not receiving any energy from PG&E. So you're receiving it from Pioneer. So they show you how much they would have charged you for electricity that you imported, and then they credit it right back to you. So if you skip a page in your bill and go to page 5, you're going to find Pioneer's charges that replace that credit that we just talked about. The energy usage info will match what's on the previous page, and you'll see another line item for export credits. So the value of export credits is different for delivery and generation, but you're credited for both portions on the bill. So the PG&E page of your bill is going to show what you earned in export credits for delivery, and then the Pioneer page of your bill is going to show what you earned in export credits for electric generation. I will note, in case anyone's wondering about whether you get better credits for being a Pioneer or a PG&E customer, the credits that you earn are going to be exactly the same for both Pioneer and PG&E. The difference is what you pay for the energy that you're importing from the grid. So those credits that you earn are actually going to go a little bit further with us because our rates are lower. All right, so kind of just going back to this, the credits here are applied to your charges for electric generation. And if you happen to have any left, they'll be added to your credit balance for future use. So in this example, you can see that the energy charges were only $3.14, but the export credits that this customer earned were $7.37 this month. So the remaining credit was added to the customer's SBP balance, and it's going to roll forward to the next bill. And then if they have charges, then those credits will be applied. Okay, and so we did skip over a page, and I want to kind of go back to that to kind of give you some info there. So the PG&E Energy Export Credit Bank, it's a fairly simple page, but I'll briefly go over what it shows. So this is where PG&E shows you both the regular and bonus export credits that you had remaining from a previous billing cycle, and then what you earned in the current billing cycle, and any credits that may be left over for future use. So this table only shows the credits that you've earned for the delivery portion of your bill. The generation credits are shown on the Pioneer page of your bill, which we just went over. But PG&E is currently working on a similar table for generations credits as well that will show up for your Pioneer portion of your bill. But as you can see for this customer, they earned $1.80 in export credits, and then they had a bonus credit of $2.97. All $4.77 of that was used in that current billing cycle, so nothing rolled forward to the next billing cycle, and nothing was left from the previous billing cycle. But if that ever did happen, this is where you would see that. All right, and so that was a quick but comprehensive overview of how billing works if you have solar billing plan. The last thing I'll leave you with is PG&E's energy export credit value sheet. There's a lot going on here. So this shows what the export rate is for every hour of every day of the year. It's color-coded with the lowest export values highlighted in orange, and then the highest export values highlighted in green. As you can see, the highest export rates are in the summer, somewhere between the hours of 5 to 10 p.m. Obviously, your solar system is not going to be producing any or very little energy at that time. So the only way to really receive those higher credits is to export energy from your battery if you have one. You can find this table and even a more detailed Excel spreadsheet of these export credits on PG&E's solar billing plan page on their website. I would highly recommend downloading this and looking at it so that you're aware of how much you're earning for each of those kilowatts exported. Right, so that's it for this webinar today. If you have any questions about your bill or Pioneer or anything else, you can reach out to us in a variety of ways. We're always happy to answer your questions and provide support when we can. This webinar was recorded and will be posted on our website shortly after it ends. So if you need to rewatch it, you can find it on our videos page on our website. And then make sure you also check our events page, and we'll be sure to post any webinars we have in the future. Hopefully this year we'll go over some things like net surplus compensation, electric vehicles, money saving programs, and energy saving tips. For the end, I'll check to see if we have any questions in our Q&A section. And then I'll leave it for a while. I'll leave this open for a while in case anyone does have any questions. But that was it. It's a pretty quick overview, but really try to distill the info down into, pretty simple terms. The billing can be intimidating, but really once you get the basics down, it's pretty easy. So, all right, it doesn't look like there are any questions, so I will say goodbye and thank you for joining us during your lunch hour today to learn about solar billing plan. Bye-bye.